Hello, students. Welcome to Mr. Martin and Mr. Walter's critically acclaimed series on imperialism, the Flipped Classroom, Part 4. We're going to briefly talk about and discuss this evening the Middle East.
All right, class, before we get started, you can't understand the modern Middle East conflict without understanding a little bit of the history there, all right? You've heard us talk about the Ottoman Empire before in class. The Ottoman Empire was predominantly a Muslim empire stretching around the Fertile Crescent. Well, in the late 1700s, that Muslim empire slowly began to decline. Europeans come in. Now remember, the Europeans have had a very volatile relationship going back to the days of the Crusades. What religions are Europeans, Mr. Walter?
Europeans are primarily Christian.
All right. And in the Middle East, the Muslims are
Primarily Islamic.
all righty. So the Europeans come in, slowly win over the Muslims early on, and then the Muslim leaders try to reform the government of Islam. And the leader of this picture here is the Muslim leader. His name is Muhammad Ali. Not to be confused with the boxer Muhammad Ali. Two separate people.
Funny. Muslims leader. Oh, they tried to reform the government, but
It was a fail.
it was a failure. This is a picture of the Middle East, and
And the area that we're talking about right here, guys, remember the Fertile Crescent, as we've talked about in geometry, right here, the cradle of
we're talking about
civilization.
geometry.
That's the geography.
Yeah, you meant geography.
I'm sorry. The Fertile Crescent right here, guys, this is the whole area that we're talking about.
Okay, so the Ottomans start to decline, and then Muhammad Ali, the leader, not the boxer, he comes to power. He is going to try to specifically modernize Egypt, reduce government corruption, and increase government productivity. And that will lead to the Suez Canal.
All right, he increases government productivity by creating jobs. All right, can anyone on this map find the Suez Canal? Ooh, where, oh, where is the Suez Canal? Well, the Suez Canal is located right here, right in the heart of the Middle East. And it's going to connect two separate worlds.
Yeah, it's one of the most important waterways in the world.
All right, so guys, the British have to go around Africa in order to get to one of their colonies, India, seen here in purple.
Which we'll talk about in the next video.
In order to get to India more quickly, they helped the Egyptians modernize and build this canal right here. This will now cut the travel time rather than going all the way around Africa like the explorers had to, like Da Gama and Bartholomew Diaz. They now can cut through this canal and use the Red Sea to their advantage and get to India very, very quickly.
This is a picture of what the canal looks like from space. You can see on the far edge we have one body of water, the Mediterranean Sea, and on the other far edge of the picture you can see we have another body of water, the Red Sea.
The Red Sea seen here, Mediterranean Sea here, and the Suez Canal right along here.
And it's important to note, I know we said it, but this is man-made. So this was dug out by humans. They've modified and split this land apart.
All right, today, ladies and gentlemen, the United States and other countries use the Suez Canal to transport their military goods to the Middle East in this region. When we went to war in Iraq in 2003, a lot of our armored personnel used the Suez Canal to access the Middle East. Very, very important.
It's also a main waterway that oil is traded on, and if anything ever happens to the Suez Canal or it ever is closed, the cost of gas would skyrocket.
Hey, funny you should say it, Mr. Walter, because that's exactly what happened about 2 years ago during the Arab Spring, when Egypt closed access to the Suez Canal. Therefore, oil tankers had to go all the way around Africa to get to the United States, causing our gas prices to rise. Gas prices rise, so does the cost of crops and produce and other goods, and therefore it becomes more expensive to live. This, guys, has a direct impact on your life today. All right, again, here's a chart, again, just showing you guys the difference that the Suez Canal makes. You guys can see prior to the Suez Canal,
It was a 12,000 mile journey one way, and then you have to take that same journey back. And this Suez Canal cuts it down to a 7,000 mile journey, which is still a lot, but it's way less than a 12,000 mile journey. And Mr. Martin and I aren't math teachers, but we can tell you that's a big difference.
Yeah. All right. So the Suez Canal, it's a 100-mile waterway. It's shortened travel from Europe to India, which means goods coming back to Europe are going to be cheaper. That's good for the consumers. And today, the most important point is that it is a critical tool for exporting oil around the world.
Okay, and this is just a picture. I'm not really actually sure what this is, Mr. Margaron.
All right, well, what this is, Europe now, with the completion of the Suez Canal, has a complete stranglehold around the entire Asian continent. They dominate, they obviously control Europe, they control Central Africa, which we talked about, they can control the Middle East, they can control India, which we're going to talk about, they can control China, Japan, the Koreas, and even Russia. They now have a complete water control around the entire Asian continent. Now the groundwork is set to have imperialism in Asia.
All right.